Hello, good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadonia.
And I'm Uche Onyekuruje. Like we said yesterday, that it was going to be very interesting today, looking at lifestyle. But then part of lifestyle we'll be looking at is something you really want to be involved in. And I want to indulge all parents, guardians, teachers, and all adults to be part of this, as we'll be looking at child abuse, more like child sexual abuse, right, Justin?
Yes, specifically the role of parents in this social vice that is, just a big evil amongst us. Some people call it the Western evil. What are we not doing right? What should we be doing? What are the roles of the parent in all of this? Is it time to speak out? Is it time to just hide the child because of issues of stigmatization? What exactly should we be doing if your child or your ward has been sexually abused, sometimes even by close family members? What are the issues? Let's begin to talk about them, and we will be doing that on the show this morning. We have a guest with us here in Lagos who will be talking about the issue of child sexual abuse and, of course, what parents can do and should be doing. We have a legal practitioner. She is with the Gender Mobile Initiative. She is Barrister Adekemi Adegbola. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Good morning. It's good to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I mean, this is one topic that's been like forever, but maybe due to social media, it is becoming so, it looks like it's closer than we can ever imagine. We see pedophiles, we see molestations, we see all this happen. And the funny thing is, this thing happens between, as in, it happens so close to whoever it has happened to. It's usually with someone you're really, really familiar with.
True.
Okay, so for the benefit of those at home, let's first start with what child sexual abuse is all about. What exactly is child sexual abuse? As when we talk pedophiles, what exactly are we talking about?
When we talk about child sexual abuse, we're talking about we're talking about the abuse of a child when it is not with child's consent. It can't even be with the child's consent, because when we define a child here, we're looking at the ages of 18 years and below. So at that point, the child is in his or her formative years and does not have control over the decision he or she makes. So he or she cannot be consenting to such an act at that particular age. So when we look at child abuse or child sexual abuse, it means that the forceful taking of a child to have carnal knowledge of that particular child at a very, very tender age. And when we have to relate it to pedophiles, who are pedophiles here? Pedophiles they're individuals, usually adults, who have this particular knack. It's called a mental disorder, scientifically, who have a particular knack for having sexual intercourse or an attraction towards children of prepubescent age. So when we talk about prepubescent ages here, we're looking at ages of 13 years and below. So these people have sexual attraction to young children. And it is very, very funny. I mean, very funny to learn and know that pedophiles are not only men here. We have them female. We have female pedophiles. We have male pedophiles too.
Okay, let us bring it home now. Pedophilia in Nigeria. You talked about, you described children as people below the age of between the ages of 0 and 18 years, but it is very alarming lately. I'm not trying to justify for that younger or older people cannot be sexually abused, but you find out that even right now we have issues of babies, children who are still trying to crawl, and they've been violated by people they even know. I mean, how did people get into that particular way of thinking, to want to have kind of knowledge with a baby?
So further expatiating on pedophiles here, you find out that it is just not a normal thinking human being. Yes, it's not normal to find out that the only thing that gives you sexual excitement, you get it from a child. Most of the time, children who have not even attained puberty. So, and you find out that they are not even the perpetrators of this particular evil. refer to as evil, because you find out that the emotional, the psychological pain the child goes through, and as well the trauma the child goes through lives with the child throughout the years of this child. So the parents, yes, sometimes leave their children in the hands of uncles, in the hands of aunties, housemaids, drivers. Take my child to school, and then you find out that these people who are even closer to the children are the perpetrators of this evil. So while an housemaid is taking care of a child, in the process of taking care of that child, she has a particular attraction to the child and wants to have carnal knowledge of this particular child. We can't even begin to discuss consent here, because we're talking of a child here. Okay, according to the Child and Young Persons law, you find that a child is defined as a person from 14 years and below. So if I would look at someone from 14 years and below and have a particular sexual attraction to that person, that means there's something mentally wrong with the particular individual who wants to carry out such an act.
Okay, just I'd like us to look at, is there any healing process for people like this, for pedophiles? Did they actually get out of this? Because it looks like, was the abuse a child? The child tends to grow up and abuse another child.
It becomes a chain of reaction. Well, there is help for whoever wants to get help. First, it has to do with the particular individual identifying that he or she has a problem. Because if you look at the process pedophiles go about operating, their mode of operation, they find excitement, they find pleasure hearing and seeing these young persons going through pain. So that is what motivates them to even go further. The fact that they know that this person is young, he or she is not an adult, doesn't have a say, cannot reject or refuse what they are bringing to them at that particular point in time. It gives them more excitement to go on, and then they want to continue. But when you now identify that you have this particular problem, then you come for help. It's like someone who has malaria. You know that you're not feeling fine. You know your body is reacting in a particular way. You go to the medical doctor to seek help. But a lot of them enjoy what they do. There was a recent case in Melbourne, US, in the United States of America recently, where a man traveled. He traveled all the way to another state to procure a 14-year-old child, a young boy here, an adult, a man, procured a 14-year-old boy on a website. So that means even the society supports it. On a website,
so when you said procure, as in he bought him?
He bought the child to have carnal knowledge of the child at a particular male party they were going to have. So each person will have to bring a young boy who they would have carnal knowledge of or with.
Okay, this is very, very crazy as it sounds, but, like you said, it happens with people who are familiar with the parent, How do you begin to identify who the bad person is? Because ordinarily, they could be, like you said, your driver, even your own close relative, who are just the babysitting when you're not around. How would you begin to know that your children are being abused, specifically when the perpetrator might have threatened the child not to say anything, or maybe sometime when they even say, the parent might not even believe?
Yes, you're right about that. Pedophiles don't come in horns.
Okay.
Like the devil, like we say, the devil does not come in horns. Yes, so pedophiles don't come masked and saying, wearing inscriptions on their forehead, I am a pedophile. Pedophiles are usually the nice uncles you see around, the very how do I put it now, the very benevolent aunties you have around who will come visiting and then bring something for your children to entice them. Most of the time, they don't even have to like coerce the children. You just buy sweet for the child and say, come into my room, I have sweet for you. They even do it right there in the parent's house, right there in the house of the parent, without the parent's knowledge. Because all they have to do is, Ade is playing with his uncle in the room. Shade is playing with her uncle in the room. And meanwhile, the uncle is perpetrating something very hideous on the child at that moment. There was a particular case of a woman who found her younger brother with his genital in the mouth of her baby, a 3-month-old baby. So she found out that the baby was not crying as usual, and then had to go to the room. Sorry, name withheld here. What are you doing? What's the particular thing you're doing that my child is not even crying while not with me? And then she opened the door to find out that this particular man had his genital in the mouth of the baby. So you find out that these people, for me, it's more psychological, and when you find out scientifically, it's more psychological. And like you said, it's a chain of reaction. It goes from one generation to the other unchecked. So if this person has done it, or this person is a victim and has not gone through any reformative process, he just finds it interesting at times, and then see that, well, it's something usual, nobody is stopping it, nobody has done anything to curb it. Why don't I try it on another child who I'm also in contact with? So this goes on and on and on and on. So we'll have, you know, a particular time where we have to stand up and say, no, pedophiles in society, this has to stop.
Okay, now, for the benefit of those at home, and then those who actually have children, and they have these uncles, aunts, or whatever around them, what are the signs to look out for? Either when the deed is done or before the deed. How do you know when you see a pedophile? Because they are regular people like us.
They are regular people.
How do you know as a parent that, okay, I don't think my child can be safe with such a person? What are the signs to look out for?
Well, like I said earlier, really there are no signs. It's so damning that you can't pinpoint and say these are the signs you would see. If I have to juxtapose that with a serial killer, with a serial killer, you probably just find out that the person is withdrawn from the society, doesn't mingle with a lot of people, but pedophiles mingle. But one thing that I always talk to parents about when I have the opportunity to is, do not leave your children unclad. Stop allowing your children walk about the sitting room not wearing anything, because that is what really attracts them. When they see a young girl without wearing her panties on, her panties are on, and then she's crawling about, they see the female genital, they are attracted to it, aroused, yes, like you said, attracted to the genital, and then they want to perform that particular act at that time or at any other time when they have the opportunity to. So pedophiles can't really be, you can't really say this person is a pedophile. They don't go around, making you suspect them as pedophiles. In fact, they are very, very nice. But I feel that we can prevent it by withdrawing, by stopping our children from moving about unclad. I see a lot of children in the marketplace, near conductors, bus drivers, and then they just place their children on their laps and say, "Uncle, watch this child for me." And you don't know that the period you're going to sell your wares and coming back, something might have happened to that child.
Okay. All right. Just to let our viewers know that this program is very interactive, I would like to hear from you. If you have any testimonial, if you have any experience, or if you have a feedback, a bit of a question or a comment you want us to talk about or share with you, please feel free to do so. Send us an SMS. The number is now on the screen, or you can also interact with us on our social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. We still have Adekemi Adegbola, legal practitioner. She is also with the Gender Mobile Initiative.
Okay, so let's also look at it from this angle. I mean, there was a case we had a couple of months ago. The name of the school withheld said that it was a teacher that actually molested a 2-year-old child. And I think it just took the child's, one of the children, about 2 of them, he molested 2 of them. And so one of them was just, happens to be talking to her mom, and then she saw something related to sex. And she told the mom, this is what Uncle whatever does to me. And okay, so now they're out of the house, you know your home is safe, for instance. How are you so sure that the crèche, the school, wherever place they are safe? How do you ensure that?
Really, I would say that there is no safe haven anywhere. There is no safe haven. Like the child you just mentioned now rightly did, we need to sensitize and at a very early age talk to our children about sex. I would always prescribe that. At Gender Mobile, we always prescribe that, and that is why we also do school and primary school and secondary school outreaches. And so we try to sensitize children and tell them that, see, when you see this particular act being done to you, scream for help. If you cannot scream for help at that particular time, try to report to someone of an higher authority. Because you will take your child to school. You wouldn't have to start suspecting the teachers and looking out for them. Say, how am I sure this uncle? No, I want a female teacher for my child. But unfortunately, females are also involved here.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can't really say. But with sensitization and making these children understand different acts, these are the acts that you should prohibit. Don't allow any uncle touch your bum bum. Don't allow any uncle touch you in any private region. So when they do, I mean, it doesn't start in a day. It starts with the uncle slapping maybe her buttocks, and then she just go chuckling about, and then from there it also develops into the uncle saying, come to my staff room, and then from there, you know. So but we tell the children that at this particular stage, when you start noticing this, please report to your headmistress, report to your headmaster, talk to your mommy, talk to your daddy. But then there are also times when the parents don't even believe. They say, what, at that particular age, what do you know? But if you are, I mean, over time sensitized your child will definitely be able to talk to you. You create that environment for conversation, to be able to converse with your children and tell them that I want you to be able to confide in me, I want you to tell me this, I want you to tell me that. I will definitely get home from school and be able to open up to you about what is happening to me.
Okay, so let's go further now. I mean, in university, we've had cases about lecturers molesting students, and there's this, because I was talking to a couple of students a couple of days ago, and there's this mentality that even in schools, lecturers, teachers, they have a way of supporting each other. Even if they know that this particular colleague misbehaved, they want to bury it. You know, so I just want you to say something about that, particularly for the ladies who can't help. The school authority is not helping, and then you need your certificate. I heard one of them say, well, if this particular man has to be exposed, it won't be from me because I want to graduate. So how do you expect such a girl to stand her ground? Because some would say there's a place for prayer. Yeah, I'm not saying there's no place for prayer, but then how do you expect her? Because the trauma that comes with it might mar the victim for the rest of her life. In a situation like this, what would you say to a lady like that? What do you expect them to do?
Well, we will not shy away from the fact that we know that these things are happening everywhere. We will not shy away from that. But we'll also say that we have the rule of law in place. Implementation of the rule of law could be a bit faulty with our society. But in the same vein, people get justice. But the problem we have is who is ready to speak up, who is ready to bail the cat here, like the case of the young lady we're talking about. Yes, university lecturers indulge in all sorts of, we have cases, we've handled cases at Gender Mobile where we have sought and we got justice for the particular victim involved. But the first process here is, yes, a lecturer is molesting you, a lecturer is victimizing you and then telling you that you would not get your marks if you do not, you know, allow him have carnal knowledge of you. For us at Gender Mobile, we're not like every other NGO or every other organization that just comes around and say we'll do this and we will not implement it. When you come to us, we have legal practitioners, of which I am one of them, who would take up the case. The law will take its course if you approach the law. If you do not, and we have to allow it sit at the level of administrative level where we have administrative panel, I mean quasi-judicial panels having to handle these issues, then you might not get justice because like you said, there's a cartel. There's a cartel among lecturers where they don't want to expose their fellow lecturers, but we are not taking it to the university level. Yes, we would inform the university's vice chancellor, but we'll also take it above that. We'll take it to the level of the law, the court, where we know that yes, we can get justice, and then the vice chancellor, even the state governor, is still subject to the judiciary. So we know that we can get justice, and we're going to get justice for such a child and or such a victim, and we're not going to stop at that. We'd also take it further by reforming that particular person, because to be very sincere, the trauma that follows is psychological if it has already happened. If it hasn't happened, I mean, we've had a case of a lecturer who called a lady into his office and he was about attempting to sleep with her. She didn't consent, she tried screaming, and he just pressed her body against hers. He didn't even have, there was no penetration, but he pressed her body against hers, and then he had, you know, just her body and everything, and then he had himself, you know, having all sorts of, I don't want to start mentioning him here, and she was traumatized. For weeks, she kept crying. She wouldn't talk to anyone. She spoke to her friend who called us. And then we spoke to her. We told her that, well, you can go through a reform process. Because you don't even have to penetrate the particular victim here. The thought of somebody is trying to take over my personal will, it's in itself very traumatizing. So we don't leave the victim at the level of the law. We take the victim in and then try to counsel he or she, allowing them to understand that, look, there's no stigma involved here. Okay. It's about your personal development. Because if we do not reform you now, you grow up with that mentality. You become overzealous, you become overprotective of your children, and then you're even, it affects them psychologically. Some even become sexual perverts in the long run. So we don't want that to happen to them. We bring them in to reform them back and then try to push them into the society so that they can also be agents.
Okay, fine. Let us talk about the laws, the legislation that you talked about. Maybe we should expound on them a bit. What are the various laws in place for cases of child sexual abuses? What are the extreme penalties that these offenders can get to ensure that it serves as deterrent to others who may want to also perpetrate the same crime?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that the Nigerian Constitution, which is like the ground norm for us in Nigeria, already provides for different rights. So you have your right to life. You have your right to personal dignity, right to liberty. Now, under dignity of human person, you have the right not to be tortured or treated in any inhumane manner, yes. So that already guarantees you, and any violation of that right would attract penalty for the defaulter, the person who violates the right. So the Constitution stands there to address issue of infringement of rights. Now, when we come to subsidiary legislation here, we look at the Child Rights Act, which has been that has been domesticated in Nigeria, yes, and in Lagos, but has not been ratified by so many states in Nigeria. But for the states that have ratified it, we have penalties for child offenders. We have sentence anyone caught under the Child Rights Act. We have sentence of like 4 years imprisonment. We have sentence of like 14 years imprisonment. There's a recent one, which is the violence against persons and prohibition. Yeah, that particular law was passed into law in 2015, and then it prohibits the violence against persons. So, and in it we have this also we have the violence against children in it, and then it prescribes, for rape, it prescribes life imprisonment. So for that, when you come under that law, you know that if anyone perpetrates rape and you're able to succeed at the court of law, it is life imprisonment. We also have international instruments that goes against a violation of children. We have the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We have so many instruments. We have UNICEF. The UN also has its own different conventions on child rights. And all of these, they come together in battling and fighting anyone that tries to have carnal knowledge or molest or abuse a child. And it doesn't even stop there. It also goes to child trafficking too, because there are parents who sell their children for sexual use. So also we talk about child factory. I hope you've heard about that. There's a place in Benin where you have child factory where ladies they get them pregnant over time and they begin to produce children for people to buy, and they sell out. So that also, the law also addresses that. But the problem we have is we have this plethora of laws. Are people making use of it? Do you know you have a weapon which you can fight with?